Welcome, and thanks for joining me. We're about to dive into the world of good laboratory practices. Now, in this first chapter, we're going to cover the history and the purpose of GLP, because really, to get why these rules are so critical today, you have to understand where they came from. So let's get right into it.
It all really starts with a pretty fundamental question. Think about it. From medicines to the additives in our food, how can we, and maybe more importantly, how can the agencies that protect us, be absolutely certain that these products are safe? Well, the answer has to lie in the data from non-clinical safety studies.
Now, for a long time, governments did require this kind of safety testing, but there was this massive, glaring loophole. While the law might have said what tests you needed to do, there was nothing, absolutely nothing, that defined how the work was actually supposed to be conducted. And that meant the results were at risk of being inconsistent, open to manipulation, or sometimes just plain wrong.
And this lack of oversight, well, it didn't just stay a theoretical problem. It led directly to a full-blown crisis of trust, a scandal so big that it literally forced radical, worldwide change in the entire industry.
The absolute epicenter of this crisis was a facility in Illinois called Industrial Biotest Laboratories. You'll hear it called IBT. Now, at the time, these guys were a huge deal. They were responsible for a massive chunk of the world's toxicology testing. We're talking almost half of it. What FDA inspectors would end up uncovering there, well, it was going to shake the scientific community to its very core.
So what exactly did these inspectors find? Well, in some of IBT's studies, the animal mortality rate, just from poor care alone, was as high as 40 to 50%. Just let that sink in for a second. A rate that high completely invalidates any scientific data you could possibly collect. The studies weren't just flawed, they were totally, completely worthless. The conditions, they were just beyond belief. They had this automated watering system that was constantly breaking down, which led to regular flooding. We're talking about animals literally drowning in their own cages. Things got so bad that the staff actually had a nickname for the room. They called it the swamp. And the list of findings just revealed the sheer scale of the negligence and the outright fraud. On top of the awful animal care, inspectors found that dead animals were being secretly replaced with new ones to hide those terrible mortality rates. They found data that was just made up to fill in the gaps. And in the most extreme cases, entire study reports were fabricated from thin air. The fallout from all this was swift, and it was severe. This wasn't just some slap on the wrist. 3 of IBT's top executives were prosecuted and actually sent to jail. The facility itself, it was shut down for good. The message sent to the entire industry was crystal clear. This will not be tolerated. So, out of the ashes of the IBT scandal, the FDA knew it had to do something. The industry desperately needed a set of enforceable rules, a real quality system, to make sure that the data being submitted to regulators could actually be trusted. And this was the birth of good laboratory practice.
And the FDA moved fast. In 1976, while the IBT investigation was still going on, they released the very first draft of the GLP regulations. After getting feedback from the industry, the final rule was published in 1978, and by June of 1979, GLP was officially the law of the land in the United States.
This new law, which you'll know as 21 CFR 58, was absolutely revolutionary. For the very first time, it didn't just regulate what you had to test. It regulated how the studies had to be conducted, how they were managed, and how they were reported. It created a real, verifiable framework to ensure data integrity.
But, the story doesn't end there. While GLP started as a U.S. law, it pretty quickly became clear that for international trade to work, these principles needed to become a global standard.
See, the FDA's GLP is a binding U.S. law. But other countries quickly realized, hey, if we don't have similar standards, we can't sell our products in the U.S. To solve this, the OECD created its own principles of GLP. Now, this wasn't a law, it was more of a harmonized quality system. It basically ensured that data from one member country would be accepted in another, which was crucial for preventing these new safety rules from becoming a barrier to global trade. So, that brings us to today. After all that history, what's the fundamental purpose of GLP in our modern world? And really, why does this matter so much to you? Okay, let's look at the official OECD definition. The key phrase to lock in on here is quality system. GLP isn't just about the science itself, it's about the entire organizational process and the conditions. We're talking everything from planning and performing the study all the way through to archiving the results. It is a complete holistic framework.
And this gets right to the core mission of GLP. We need it to make sure the data regulators get is valid, accurate, and reliable. It's what prevents flawed data, like the junk we saw coming out of IBT, from leading to a disastrously wrong risk assessment. So, ultimately, GLP exists to protect human health, to safeguard our environment, and to uphold the very integrity of the scientific process itself.
To put it simply, GLP is the system we have to ensure the data submitted represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it's really no exaggeration to say that our health and our lives depend on it. At the end of the day, GLP isn't just a binder full of rules, it is a commitment to scientific and ethical integrity. So as you move forward with this training, the real question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready to uphold that commitment?